Okay, so by my estimation, it is 2 o'clock. Let us just greet you in the name of the Lord and Savior that we serve, Jesus the Christ. I am Reverend Finkley, and I have with me Reverend Thomas, and we want today to tackle some of the issues that plague us with at-risk youth. As we know, before the pandemic, we had issues, and certainly after the pandemic we have issues. And so there's a few things that I want to lay some foundation with. We'll lay some foundation with. I want to just pull from a passage in Jeremiah. You'll find it in chapter number 29, verses 4 through 14. And it talks about exile, when the children of Israel went into exile, and how King Nebuchadnezzar lay hold to all of the intellects, all of the skilled persons. He took everything that they had. And it talks about how three prophets, Ahab, Zedekiah, and Hananiah, comes along and tell them that this exile will not last but 24 months. So he give the children of Israel some false hope to say that this exile won't last but 24 months. So for many of you on the line, 24 months, I think I can live through it, right? We can get through 24 months. But the reality of the matter is some of the trials in which we see today. I have one that that's in my mind that happened several years ago when the young soldier was killed in Hoover Galleria Mall in Birmingham, Alabama. Those issues are still going on today. And so they tell them this erroneous prophecy. The children of Israel get their hope up, like, okay, this will be over soon. And but to come back, and the prophet Jeremiah comes back and say, who told you that? Who told you this would be over in 24 months? Who told you this would be over soon? And that just really just dampers the spirit of the Israelites, because they're living in a displaced place. They're living in a place of exile. They're living in a place in which they didn't build, they didn't plant nothing. But here's what the prophet comes and tells them. The prophet says, I need you to set yourself, build houses, plant gardens, because you're going to be here. He said, marry, have your children get married, have children, have them get married, because you'll be here for a minute. This is going to take 70 years. So 24 months and 70 years is quite different. We thought that our issues would be over after Dr. Martin Luther King fought and marched, and Fred Shuttlesworth, and they marched, and we thought it would be over. But still today, we're still dealing with indifferences. We're still dealing with racial tension. We're still dealing with children that are at risk. And so we thought what would be over by now is still existing. We thought that what would be over since the civil rights movement is still going on today. And so they said, set yourself, build houses, because you'll be here a while, which means that this might not affect those in the present, but it'll affect those in the future. And here we are today talking about our at-risk youth. Me and Dr. Thomas was given a task a season ago about how me and Dr. Thomas was given a task a season ago to create a platform and a network to be able to have 12 million children to be gun-free, drug-free, and jail-free. Because of that, this is how I got to know Reverend Thomas and the passion that he had. So we came together and we created a network of, okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I'm so, Dr. Franklin,
hear me now?
Voice went out. Can't hear you.
You hear me now?
You're on mute. Got you.
You hear me now?
Yes, sir. We back in business. You. Can't hear you.
Hey, so Dr. Finkley, we can't hear you. You got to unmute yourself on the bottom where it says the camera button. And honestly, sometimes if that doesn't work, if you log out, log back in, it'll bring you right back in to where you're unmuted, because I can't unmute you on my end. Oh, okay. He's going to come back. All right. It's all you.
Is that better?
All right. There we go. There we
Did
go.
that get us back?
Something?
All right, cool. Is that back?
I can hear him.
Okay, good.
Oh,
yep, y'all are good.
All right, cool. So we were given a task. Thank you, X. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. We were given a task to try to create a network to get 12 million children to be gun-free, drug-free, and jail-free, because we know that pre-exile or pre-pandemic, we were dealing with some very grave issues. I never forget, we went to a city, many of you know, Selma, and the city asked us to come. And so we went to this particular city, and at this particular time, they were shooting at police officers. And so we were tasked with trying to help them to build a network between police officers and children and community. And so because of that, we created 17 chapters from Chicago to Key West, Florida, to try to navigate and to try to mitigate some of the issues in which some of our young people face. In our network, we have a pledge for the children to be gun-free, drug-free, and jail-free. But as we were navigating, we noticed that there were much more graver issues than just drugs, guns, and violence. So we began to go into schools. We began to have prayer walks. We began to invite other networks to join our network. So right now, today, we have Mothers Against Gun Violence, mothers who will go to court with you. If your child has been killed, they will go to court with you, hold your hand throughout the whole process. We have Sister to Sister. This is a network that allows young girls to communicate with one another, and we try to get them scholarships. We even do some for prisoners. We have where we send them 2 packages once a month. It has things that they can use while they're in prison, because we don't want to throw them away as well. But our prenatal program is our banner, because we try to get them while they're in their mother's womb. And so as we were navigating, we got to Florida. And if you know, if many of you know, Florida, the things that they deal with are much different than some of the other states. And so when we got to Florida, Dr. Thomas shared with us that in between a skirmish and court, there is no probation officer. A child is just given a record. So we went aggressively and attacked the state of Florida, and Dr. Thomas led the way. Dr. Thomas, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Finkley. I must say, when this whole process was rolling, one phone call to Dr. Finkley, and before I know it, somebody told me you was in the parking lot. And so on that particular day, when we had a chance to meet face to face, I had been working in concert with some juvenile probationary officers, wanting to get information from them. And because Florida, we have this whole thing, this pipeline from school to prison, direct pipeline. And so it's very, very bad in the state of Florida, but in Escambia County, we have one of the worst records of this. And so being here in Pensacola, Florida, like I say, trying to work with the court systems and that whole process of working with all of our youth who are at risk, we have to be able to connect some of the dots. And so getting involved and getting in right relationships with those who have hands-on with our children, and then finding out, because we too love the Lord, that there are believers that work in this workforce. And so they were willing to even partner with us to come out, share some information, and to do some preventive maintenance. And not only speaking with us, but also speaking with some of our youth. And on this particular occasion, not only did we have our youth there, but we had the parents in attendance also. Parents had questions for the JPOs as far as how this process works, what happens, what goes on. And so they were able to get firsthand information on how to resolve some of these situations, but most importantly, how to prevent your child from getting involved or getting caught up into this system. For we have to be in a position with pre-maintenance as well as the preventive maintenance aspect of it all, present maintenance and even post-maintenance. But we really have to target our young people before they fall into some of these situations, but they need help. But we also found out at that particular session, the parents were also crying for help. So the parents had a great need. They had questions they needed answers for. They were confused about a lot of the things. And this was a good thing because sometimes it happens too late. Once a child is already involved, now they're trying to get the information to get things that they need. But this was just one of the areas and one of the things that we were able to put into play. And we are still in the process of working a lot of these situations out.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, as we navigate and share together. So when we went to Florida, we had an immediate session with the juvenile probation officers and said, how can we mitigate our children, or how can we prevent our children from going to jail, right? So Dr. Thomas became the moderator or the mediator between our children going to jail and getting a very bad record and being out of. And so if they go through his program, some of our children will not have a record. And so that's a banner. We put up stars for that because many of our children were just getting in this prison pipeline and they'll never, ever get out. But here it is. So we were taking the Sunday school lesson and making it applicable every day, right? So this one meeting metastasized into us taking 200 children to a baseball game. Oh, Dr. Thomas, you want to tell what went into that? Just getting 200 children to get them on the field, to have a good time, to be able to meet our professional baseball players. And we did it on our own dime. Dr. Thomas, would you share how we were able to pull that together?
Yes. This was a very exciting opportunity, not only for us, but man, just the children in general. We were able to sit down, try to come up with a concept, with a plan of how can we get as many children as possible to watch a game. So as we sat down, we're trying to navigate and figure all of these things out. We were fortunate, we were blessed to make sure that we had the funds, the finances. We didn't have to go all out trying to get people to do certain things. Just those who were part of this particular movement, this next generation movement, and getting individuals to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And people were generous. We covered every ticket that was available. And the blessed thing about it, beloved, is that we were able not only to do this for children, but we went to the various community centers. We had enough tickets for 3 community centers. Not only those community centers, but these are community centers that are in the heart of the community, in the heart of the city, in some of the rough areas of town. And so a lot of these children have never been to a professional sporting event. And so for them to be able to go see a game, participate on the field, and not only that, we even had coupons and tickets. We were able to get some of the kids something to eat. They were able to get coupons from a particular restaurant that they could go and receive free items whenever they showed up. And so, but also not just the community centers. We put this also and put it out toward our churches in the area. And so because this took place during a particular summer, we were able to get those children that were involved in Vacation Bible School. If they wanted to, we blessed them with free tickets. And so game night, the field was full of all of our children and youth. And we were even able to bless some of the parents who wanted to spend time with their children. And so we had some tickets, and we even blessed the parents where whole families were in attendance. And they were so grateful and so thankful took pictures and everything, but it was a moment that they will never forget. And Dr. Finkley, they're still talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. That how to deal with exilic existences. So we knew that this existed, but we know that also you can create a construct, but if you don't have any big brother, big sister to go along with the construct that you've created, so Dr. Thomas and I actually became mentors and for many of these children. And you say, well, how can we, Reverend Finkley, Dr. Thomas, do this in the church? All we did, ladies and gentlemen, was brought the men of Zion along with us.
Yes.
Brought many of our Sunday school leaders with us. They just came alongside us. We created the platform. They came alongside us, and we were able to do ministry that didn't cost you nothing. Woo, talk boy. If in fact that many of us can do ministry that didn't cost you anything, because most of the times ministry does cost, because we wanted to make sure that no one, and Dr. Thomas did a wonderful job making sure that no one had any excuses. No one had any excuses. I remember when we had several events in Pensacola, because we're trying to make sure that so how do you do this? How did you pull this together? While I'm talking, you can go to our website right now, ngmfpn.com. ngmfpn.com. You can go to the website right now and you'll see all of the pictures, the beautiful things that we were able to do. So how Reverend Finkley, Dr. Thomas, did you create such a massive network where it got the attention of everybody? We made up in our mind that we would not find people that just were certified. We wanted to make sure, or certified. We wanted to make sure that we had people that were authorized, because you can have certified people, but they may not be authorized people. And so we wanted to make sure we find people that were passionate about what it is that they do. Because remember, we didn't have a lot of funds to give them. So what we could do was find people that were passionate about what they do. So when we went to Selma, we found our leader in Selma was a lady that loved Selma. She literally loves Selma, Alabama, and she wanted to see that place grow. And so because of that, we built relationship with state troopers over there, relationship with police officers that they can call us. Let me tell you what we did in Selma, much like what we did in Pensacola. We were able to every Wednesday go into schools and speak to 40 girls and 40 boys at the same time of a school that only has 126 people. Now that's putting a dent. That's putting a dent. You can admit that's putting a dent into some of the issues that we face, right? So we spoke to them every week. Because of that, we were able to take them to the museum, the new museum in Montgomery, Alabama. We did a field trip with them. We fed them at one of our oldest churches in Alabama and Florida, at the Old Ship AME Zion Church. We were able to feed them, no cost to them. All they had to do was take our pledge. You right now can do this with your children. NGM, I'm going to keep saying it, ngmfpn.com. You can go on there. We created book bags, see-through book bags. We created cell phone cases. Many of you know the movie, The Hate I Give. The Hate I Give. It's called Thug, The Hate I Give. And on this particular movie, ladies and gentlemen, a young black boy was perceived as pulling a gun out of his pocket when he was, I think, pulling a pick or a wallet out of his pocket. So we wanted to say, how can we make sure that our children won't get shot or won't be confused when they're reaching for their wallet to pull out their license, their driver's license? And so we created a phone case. Go on the line, go on the website. You'll see it right there. It's right there. But Dr. Thomas had a feeding program that poured into his church. When he went out, it poured into his church that I wanted him to share about as well. Dr. Thomas, you want to share about the feeding program?
Yes. Being that we're still dealing with the residue, if you will, of this pandemic, one of the things that it has forced or pushed us to do as a church is to come out of the witness protection program. And saying that, it's to say we have gotten comfortable going into our houses or places of worship. And we've been going into the neighborhoods where our churches sit. We've been going in, having service, saying amen, hallelujah, and walking back out, going back to where we reside. But because of this pandemic, the church was forced into outreach. And so one of the things, beloved, that we were fortunate to do was here in Pensacola, on the Gulf Coast, we have a feeding program. And for a lot of churches who, before the pandemic, recognized that you have not been able to grow your youth, retain your youth, or even to get youth into your church, this was a that we were able to set up this feeding program where we fed lunch and a snack Monday through Friday. So Monday through Friday, we fed the community. And because we were part of the Feeding the Gulf Coast, the church became a distribution site. So when children were out of school, because of the pandemic, when they shut everything down, and a lot of children depended on the food that they were receiving. Some children, the only time they would eat would be breakfast and lunch at school. And if you had a teacher, she would probably give you a little something extra to take home. But we were able to fill this particular void and become a distribution site to where we distributed over 600 lunches and snacks per week. And we were able to do this, but here's the kicker. The program is designed for children from 1 to 18. So this was a built-in procedure that we were drawing young people to the church Monday through Friday. So this meant, beloved, that our church was no longer just open on Wednesday and Sunday, but we was open Monday through Friday and on Sunday. And because we were feeding children, we created traffic flow to the grounds of the church. And when people were hungry, they would research and they would pull up and the church name would pop up and they knew where to come to get something to eat. Word began to travel. People began to pull up in lines just to receive food. Young people, they would walk up, ride their bicycles. So we understood not only are we in a position to feed them some physical food, but let's apply some other things that we can bless them and bless their families with. So we would have music playing, games and different things. And so children would come, hang out, get something to eat. And children, beloved, were drawing other children, youth. They were all coming to the church. And God blessed us. We were able to even increase our membership, even in the midst of a pandemic. And once again, Dr. Finkley, being a part of a program that already exists didn't cost us anything, but just to say we will do it. And they would supply all the food that we needed. Anything that we asked for, they would supply it so we can distribute it. And it did wonders, not just for the church, but it opened up so many doors for so many families. And we still have some of those families that still come, that still work with us even now, and part of the ministries that we operate. So this pandemic has opened doors for some brand new ministries that are not outlined in the book of discipline, but out of the need and necessity of what we are experiencing right now. And the fact that we're going to be in these predicaments for a while, it's not going anywhere. And so we had to revamp and rethink and retool and redo some things. But to God be the glory, things are working out. You're on mute, Dr. Finkley. You're on mute.
Hear me now?
You back with us?
All right, hear me now?
Sir.
All right, so as you can see, that's 3 events that we've created traffic for children that would normally be castaways. that we were able to do in Florida. Because again, our solution and our aim was to make sure that these children, our at-risk kids, won't be a part of our PRISM system in Florida. Okay, let's go to South Alabama. If you're on our website, let me give it to you again. I'm gonna keep saying it, ngmfpn.com. It'll help you. It'll bless you. It has a pledge already on there. We went to South Alabama, where Reverend Leslie Simpson is our coordinator and our director for South Alabama. And we were able to take over 4th of July, their biggest event for the year, 4th of July. We were able to go to the football stadium. And I think we had to have about 1,000 to 2,000 pledges that day because we had so many people. It was a massive event in the stadium. And we were able to pour into them. And guess who we brought along with us? The AME Zion Church. We brought along pastors. We brought along Sunday school teachers. We brought along Christian educators to make sure that as we are receiving pledges, we can point to them and say, hey, here's an AME Zion Church on your block. We were able to get addresses. We were able to get phone numbers, and we can call them and say, here's an AME Zion Church right on your block. Would you be open to going and joining this church? And so that's an event that we were able to create because we want to create traffic. So again, how do you deal with exilic existences? We have a massive approach. So in Tampa, Florida, in our southern Florida area, here's what we did. Sister to Sister became our number one hit. We lost a few people. And in our school system, many of our young ladies were, anytime we would see them and they didn't have their hair done, Sisters to Sister took over that project to make sure that they were able to pour into young ladies, to not only give them deed, but to also give them a word as well, and to let them know, look, the AME Zion Church is the one that made this possible. And so I believe this is how we grow our churches, that we must come outside of the building and make the Sunday school grow in the streets, make the Sunday school grow in our communities. In the Chicago area, we were able to have a gun buyback. You'll see some of these things on the website, ngmfpn.com. We were able to have a gun buyback to get guns off the streets. We wanted to make sure, you know how bad it is in Chicago with gun violence. So we wanted to have a gun buyback and to get guns off the streets. What a wonderful event. You know who led that? My director is a pastor of a CME church. Walls Memorial CME Church. Okay, so a part of this construct is you can't always just have AME Zion pastors. You need to branch out. So because of us branching out, now we have the sponsorship of BJ's Brewhouse. You heard Dr. Thomas sharing some of the things he wanted to do. It was because of BJ's Brewhouse we were able to do a lot of it. And we also have Chick-fil-A who supports us. They'll give me as many cards, gift cards as I want. So if the child takes a pledge, I can get them a gift card to Chick-fil-A to say, hey, we support you. We want to see you grow. We have Grader's Ice Cream. And in Chicago, we were able to do some things because we have Church of the Highlands supporting us. I'm telling you, it is so massive. I need you to go on the website right now and take a look. But this is how we were able to grow from the Sunday school book to being in the streets. So, okay, here we come. George Floyd. It comes up during the pandemic. How do we still deal with those issues? Because we're still dealing with at-risk youth. We're still dealing with many kids that are being gunned down in our streets, being thrown into prison. We're still dealing with those issues. Anytime we have a shooting in any of our communities, we always go there and we do a prayer visual or a prayer walk, and we always go there. But we go beyond the prayer walk, and what we do is we get into the school system and say, hey, city, where do you need us to help? Because many times people go to the city and they do a prayer walk, and after the prayer walk, you never ever see them again. We ask the city, where do you need us to help you? Where can we be of assistance to you? Like, for example, in Selma, we went into the elementary schools, because I believe if you get them while they're young, you stand a better chance of saving them. So we went into the elementary schools. That's where they said they needed our help. And I can remember when we went into the schools and how the children lit up, that metastasized into a school cleanup and a community cleanup. We brought the entire community together. The restaurants came out, the businesses came out, all because of something that grew out of a pastor or some pastors in the AME Zion Church. So I believe, as we get ready to entertain questions, I believe that if we are to grow, we must go where they are. And when you go where they are, they may not look like mother once looked or father once looked. Remember, father came to church, mother came to church. But the truth of the matter, we're dealing with children that will not come to church. Mother will come to church and they'll stay at home. And so, just like Dr. Thomas said, the parents were crying out for help. And so, what do you do? What do you do when you find yourself in exilic existences that just continue to keep propping up? What do? You got to find help. Here's how we helped. One of the things that we created, Dr. Thomas and I, and Reverend Simpson and I, we created a suicide prevention hotline for all of the children in Alabama and Florida. Somebody shout. So whenever you think about suicidal issues, you can call our hotline. We'll direct you to the right people, but at the same time, we'll be there to entertain whatever it is that's going on. Let me tell you how that blessed us. Once we got the child's name, we asked what conference were they in. They told us the conference. We asked what district were they in, and we asked what church were they in. Okay, somebody saying, come on, Reverend, show me how you did it. This is how we networked. We asked what conference were they in, what district were they in, and what church were they in. So not only did we alert mother and father that your child is considering suicide, we called the pastor, we called the presiding elder, and the bishop even got a report. Wow. Because we want to build that village back that people say is broken. I wanted to make sure we build that village back. Let me tell you what happened as a result of us having that suicide prevention hotline. I also attached to it a prayer line, a 24-hour prayer line. We attached to that. And many children would just call and saying, Reverend Finkley, Reverend Thomas, we just want to pray. We want to pray. I'm not thinking about suicide, but I just need prayer right now. How many of us can take that Sunday school lesson that we read every week and take it and transform it into a suicide prevention hotline for your Episcopal area and say, not so. If any of our children are thinking about suicide, we wanted to make sure that you have help, you have the support that you need. We're going to do this. Somebody, y'all call me. Let me know. We're going to help you do it. Let me tell you what else happened, because we wanted to build a dome around our children. During the pandemic, many of our children were struggling with homework. So Reverend Simpson decided to create a homework hotline where we were able to get teachers throughout the day. I'm talking about at-risk children that will normally not get the support that they need. She created a homework hotline where teachers volunteered their time for 4 to 5 hours a day to make sure that our children didn't get behind. Oh, come on, y'all. You ought to say hallelujah about that. Because this is taking ministry from the book and from the pages and bringing it alive. We're just bringing it alive. And so I want you to take this time, go on ngmfpn.com. You will see this massive movement that we created. We were able to go into Chick-fil-A. So one day we might show up at Chick-fil-A and we'll put some money on a card. Everybody that come through Chick-fil-A drive-through, we would give them free breakfast and they would take our pledge. We would go to one of our supporters, Popeye's Chicken, and we would just give away free food. And guess what? The children will take our pledge. Last but not least, and we'll entertain questions. We went to South Alabama, which is Reverend Simpson's area. We went to that area. And this one particular issue grieved my spirit. because there were several children that left the prom, and I think they end up getting killed or somebody ended up getting shot. It was a bad situation. We went into that particular city and we brought everybody together. And you'll be surprised of the faces that want to see our communities do better. And so we came into that area. If you go on our website, you'll see that we came into that area and we just poured into them. Look, Pizza Hut donated food. I mean, we had so much food just to make sure that nobody had an excuse not to hear the message in which, and here's what we said. It's an AME Zion church right around the corner. So as I close, look, we created a massive movement that's already available to all of us. All we need to do is run alongside one another, that we'll be able to pour into them and watch them come into our church. You heard Dr. Thomas. He started a feeding ministry for at-risk children. Not only is he putting his hands on them, he's putting his hands on them, keeping them out of the prison pipeline, but now he's preaching to them. If we can get them in the church, if we can get them in the church house, what saved you is still good enough to save them. I'm going to give you, Dr. Thomas, the last word before we entertain questions. Anything that you want to share before we entertain questions?
Yes, I want to make this brief so we can take care of that. We have to continue to reach all of our young people right where they are. We don't have time to wait for them to get things situated, to get things correct. We need to reach them where they are. We need to respond to them where they are. We need to rescue them from where they are. And then, beloved, we need to reclaim them for who they are. There's value that's attached to all of their lives. And Dr. Finkley touched on some of the things that collectively we've been doing, but also individually we've been continuing to do things. Like I say, so running after school programs, getting involved with the police department, the chief of police, and a speed dial, just staying connected with anything that has anything to do with the lives of our young people. Dr. Finkley, I must inform you, I just became one of the individuals on the council advisory for one of the elementary schools, because some of the work that we've been doing with the school, they said, well, Reverend Thomas, we want to bring you in and have you sit with us so we can make some of these decisions. And so when people recognize that you're serious, and like you say, this goes beyond the church. This is in the community. This is with the school system. This is with local government. And so being involved in young people's life is very, very important. And like I say, and so to be able to represent the church and still walk the streets, still go into the community, still helping children get into schools, still going to court with some children, still offering community service hours for children. We're still doing all of these things, putting on a variety of programs. Got the Florida Conference supporting all our youth basketball teams, making sure that our kids have nice uniforms when we go and travel and play against other kids, taking kids to college trips, taking kids to see college games. All of this stuff is still going on. We're still bringing in resources, education, employment, healthcare, whatever you can think of. We are doing this. And all of this is not taking place in the church. But beloved, we're going out here in the streets and we're bringing all of this information, all of this energy right where the people are. And so it's a great thing that has to continue to move on and continue to go forth. But I'm looking at that time. We need to see what questions we have available.
I'm back.
Thank you, X.
Hey.
Yes.
No questions yet.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go over here. What are you all doing now to continue that relationship? Now that was 24 minutes ago, so
Okay.
So I guess
To
you could
continue the
talk about
relationships right now, what we're doing. Okay, so we have 17 chapters. If you would go on our website, ngmfpn.com, and many of our chapter directors direct us on what are the needs in their particular community. So as the needs grow, we attach ourselves to them. what we really want to do is bring the AME Zion Church along with us, because when we go into the cities, of course, say for instance, Dr. Thomas, he lives in Florida. Okay, I live in Alabama. We may have somebody that's living in St. Louis. It'll be beneficial for Dr. Thomas to point them into an AME Zion Church in St. Louis than ask them to come to Florida to come to church, right? So that's the issue that we're trying to be able to solve, the problem that we're trying to solve, to be able to bring what we're gathering on the outside to get it into the church. I can't tell you how many pledges we've gotten. If you go on, we have a pledge counter on our website that you'll be able to see. We've had so many pledges. So how can we get over 18, 19, 20,000 people that have joined our network, children, to join the church? And that goes to say, that speaks to the pastor aligning itself with what we're doing.
Okay. That's the only question we have.
Well, if there's, let me say this to also help our churches. This is some things that have been proven. As Dr. Finkley lifted up, one of the things is we are in a position, because of the situation of the pandemic, let's get involved with some of these feeding ministries that are looking for distribution sites. If you do not have personnel, a lot of these sites, a lot of these individuals, they will have volunteers. They just need to know where can they distribute it from. This is a good way to put your church on the map with outreach ministry. Another thing that I would suggest, wherever you are, adopt a classroom or a school. Our children need you. If you're in a position to do this, not only do you help the children, but you help the teachers, and you are being participatory towards some solution.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are different things that they can direct you to as far as holiday season. Some of these children need jackets, shoes, or whatever the case might be. If you can just adopt a classroom just to help a child, a lot of these teachers are having to buy things themselves for their students. This is a wonderful opportunity for the church, the local church, or a district or a conference to get together and go all in and provide some assistance and some support. And you'll be surprised how many people will begin to look back to the church, because we have to do what Jesus was able to do. And that's, before we start trying to focus so much on a lot of the spiritual things, if we are able to meet some of the needs on a social level, we will draw, we will attract a lot of people, and we can allow them to see how Christ was working in the lives of individuals. And the last thing I would add, if there's a local community center in your area, partner with the community center. All of the needs that are going on within a community filters through the community center. Mm-hmm. And if you can line yourself up with the community center, you have access into what's going on in a particular area. There are so many slots to fill as far as children and what's happening. Children depending on community centers, after school programs, music programs, so many things going on. And so, beloved, those are surefire ways that you can get involved and begin to make an immediate impact on the lives of children and our youth.
Thank you, Reverend Thomas. You just made me think about so much. If there's anybody on the line, say for instance, you have a Chick-fil-A in your community, we have relationship. You have a BJ's Brew House in your community, we have relationship. If you have a Popeye's Chicken or Wingstop in your community, Grater's Ice Cream in your Subway in your community, we have relationship. Let me know. I'll give you as many gift cards as you need so that you can do ministry in your church for at-risk youth. God bless each of you. And thank you for taking this time to listen and share with us.
So they're asking for contact information.
Yes. Here it is. I'm going to give mine first, and then I'll let Dr. Thomas. But here, let me give
Well,
you.
say
Let me
it
give it to
slow
you.
so that I could type
I'll say it
at the same
very
time.
slow.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give you the website. It has everything you need on it. ngmfpn.com. All that stands for is Next Generation Movement for Peace and Nonviolence. ngmfpn.com. You can go on this website and get any phone number you need. You can get statistics in your city, in your state. You can get Dr. Thomas's phone number. You can get all of our vendors that support us. And all you need to do is call me. Call me and let us know your needs, and we'll be able to facilitate them. Thank you,
As Christian educators, what do you recommend that we do to help meet the needs of our children? I think you might have answered that already. And then the second question, so you can answer it two-pronged, is do you feel the lack of young people in our churches can be changed through programs like yours?
Yes. What we did was, so out of the Florida area, we were able to meet with police officers. Remember now, this first event that Dr. Thomas had, we met with juvenile probation officers. There were some officers that were literally tired of seeing our Black children come through the prison pipeline. Let me tell you what happened. As a result of that, we built a network with them. You'll see all of this on the website. And they started a church. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me today? Out of what they do, they started a church. So all my only task was to get them exhorter's license, to make sure that they can do it officially and do it in the name of the AME Zion Church. So here it is. Let me back up. It may not look like the old church, the old ship of Zion, but it can be started in a community center. Remember when Reverend Thomas said you might need to go to your community center, start a Bible study. Go to your local library, start a Bible study, or do whatever you can. And guess what? Once you get that started, bring them into the church. Dr. Thomas did it through a feeding program. Let me tell you, and I'm done. I promise I'm done. My first event that I did, I went to the local restaurant in front of my church, and I gave out 1,000 sausage biscuits. I gained members out of that event, and they still go to the church today. That happened back in 2018. So if he did it for me, I know he can do it for you. Because there's nothing special about me that says God has to do something for me that he can't do for you. Thank you, X.
You're welcome. I think that's all of our questions. So for everybody in the chat, I did put the website there in the chat. All the information is on the website. Hopefully everybody can see that. Yep. Okay. People can see it. And if there's any last minute questions, go ahead and either drop them in the chat or you can drop them in the Q&A section.
While we're entertaining questions, let me say, when you go on the website, go down, scroll down, you'll see the pledge at the bottom. Get all of our children in our churches. That's a wonderful Sunday school. Once we finish the Sunday school lesson, that'll be a wonderful thing to do. Get all of our children to take the pledge, to be gun-free, jail-free, and drug-free. Let me tell you what that's going to do. That's going to send an email to me. And you know what I'm going to do when you send that email to me? I'm going to send your child a free Chick-fil-A card. Hey. I know you like Chick-fil-A. So go ahead and get the children to take the pledge to be gun-free, drug-free, and jail-free, because believe it or not, children are still getting shot. There's still violence in our community, even during a pandemic. So get them to take, and you say, well, Reverend, we want to buy book bags. That's how we're supporting the movement. I have book bags. Guess what? They didn't come from America. We got them over across seas. They were handcrafted. If you go on the website, you'll be able to see when they were taking time to handcraft these. I created them myself. The cell phone cases, I created them myself. And guess what? I got plenty of them. Just let us know, because I'm not a salesman. I want them to go to the right people, not just some people that have money, right? So go onto the website. You'll see all of these things. We speak to football teams. I did halftime shows for so many football teams. Even spoke to the Michigan Wolverines. Yes, spoke to them too. So we're going all over